No matter what you have learned about manifestation so far, or whatever line of teachings you follow, you will have to show up for your manifestation. Now, this might be a hard pill to swallow because there is so much content out there telling you that you should just meditate at your place, you should do techniques like SATs and affirmations, and your manifestation are just gonna show up at your doorstep. Unfortunately, that's not the reality, and it makes for great YouTube titles. They're clickbaity, they sell, and we get our views. But as I have mentioned before, that's not the reality. You do have to show up for your manifestation. We do our part as deliberate creators, and then the universe meets us halfway, and what we want eventually manifests in the world. That's the basic mechanics of it. If you are with me so far, I think you're gonna find this video helpful. If not, this video is not gonna be for you, and that's okay. I hope you find what you're looking for. Hi there, welcome to another episode of the Overcome Yourself podcast. And in this video, we're going to talk about how we can consistently keep showing up for our manifestation, even when the going gets hard or we find it somewhat difficult. So before I share with you how to show up for your manifestations consistently, even when you don't feel like it, there's a concept that I would like to discuss that I think you would find very helpful. I've started calling it flow-based manifestation, and this is not something that is originally mine. I have learned it from this YouTuber, Joseph Rodriguez. Now, if you have been following manifestation content on YouTube, you probably have come across Joseph's content. The channel's pretty big. If you haven't, I recommend you check it out. Joseph's content is absolutely amazing. But I digress. So what is flow-based manifestation? It is essentially a way of showing up for your manifestation from a place of flow. For those of you out there who are not familiar with the term flow, it is a term in positive psychology that has been coined by the psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi somewhere, I think, in the late 90s. So flow is this state of absolute absorption in the present moment where resistance goes down, you are fully focused for the task at hand, and doing what you're supposed to do just feels good. And the reason flow is so important is because if we can attend to the demands of the task from a place of flow, in contrast to doing it from a place of resistance or from constriction or anxiety, the journey becomes much more enjoyable and it's just more fun. Because all of us have been there where we finally manifested or reached a goal that we have been longing for a long time, only to find out that the pleasure was very short-lasting, and then we start wondering whether it was all worth it. With flow-based manifestation, there's a lot of emphasis on making the process more enjoyable. Now, how would this look like in practice? Think of a writer who is trying to write the first chapter of his book. So he makes himself sit with a piece of paper and pen and experiences what has been called writer's block. So he's sitting there with a blank piece of paper and pen, and nothing really comes. We find ourselves in similar situations oftentimes in our day-to-day lives when we can't remember something or things are not going as expected at work or during our creative processes, and the way we respond to that is by getting frustrated or cultivating a mental narrative about it as to why this is very hard or why we don't have what it takes, or a very common one that I often hear people saying is, I'm just not good at this. And that causes a lot of resistance, and our brains learned that if we decide to show up for this experience, it's not going to be fun. And of course, the next time when the time comes to show up for our manifestation, we just experience a lot more resistance because our previous experiences have lodged into our subconscious, and subconscious has learned that we're going to be in pain if we commit to do this work. So this is usually how it goes for a lot of us, but With flow-based manifestation, we just refuse to do that. So we're fully present with our activity, and maybe it's not going as well or as smoothly or as fast as we would like it to. We relax in the face of that mental narrative, and we pay very close attention as to how we're relating to this phenomenon of things not going as expected. And if we see unhelpful thoughts coming up, we disidentify from them and we go within. We become quiet. We become as present as possible. And as we become more relaxed and more quiet in our bodies, oftentimes magic happens. That's when the words start flowing. The ideas start coming, and before we know it, the resistance is gone and the words are coming out. You'd hear creative people, artists, authors, filmmakers, describing having experiences like that all the time. One big example of this that I can think of at this moment is none other than the great Eckhart Tolle, who wrote this book called The Power of Now. So after his spiritual awakening, he was sitting on a park bench by himself for almost 2 years, and then he had this urge to move to Vancouver, where, as he puts it, the energy was just about right, and eventually the words for the power of now just started coming to him, and he just had to put them on paper. You can almost see it as something that I'd call creative conception. So the conception happens, and you just have to let it out. But till that happens, it's important that we do not generate negative emotions or anxiety or impatience around it, because as I have mentioned before, it trains our brain to think that this is going to be a painful process and we should do everything on our part to avoid this. How does that manifest? That when the time comes to show up for the work again, it's just gonna remind you how difficult it was the last time. And if the pattern becomes very entrenched, it's gonna show up in your body as constrictions, as tightness, some physical pain. And this is something that I have experienced time and time when I was trying to build a social life for myself. Because growing up, I was told that people are essentially not good-natured. They're always out there to get me. So I had a lot of subconscious fear about people. And because these assumptions were so deeply buried into my subconscious, as I would try to show up for connecting and making and forming new relationships, my body would literally start hurting. I'd experience chest pain, tightness in my stomach, hyperventilating, and I would just give up and go home and not talk to people that I would actually be interested in connecting with. So the constrictions, the resistance that we experience are very real physical phenomenons. And if we're not careful, they're gonna become these patterns that will have a very strong hold on us, and you will have to put in a lot of work to undo them. You will have to do subconscious mind reprogramming, a lot of relaxation work, self-hypnosis, and it's going to take a very long time. So why get there when we can prevent them in the first place? And the way you prevent that is being very present as you are showing up for your manifestations. You pay attention to what's going on in your mind and body. What is it that you're telling yourself about the work? Are you telling yourself that it is too hard, it is too difficult, that you don't have what it takes? You might want to change that story. Is there a lot of tightness in your physiology? Are you experiencing a lot of constriction? Maybe it's time to go within, take a few deep breaths, and systematically run a process of relaxation to release the tightness in your body and just become quiet and relaxed and let it all go. Or as Dr. Joe Dispenza would put it, you need to become nothing at this moment. And by becoming nothing, we become a clean slate and we are fully present for what's going on in the moment. And as we do that, we establish a connection between our heart and the brain, and there is a union and a sense of wholeness, which then enables us to be at the peak of our creativity. On this channel, I talk a lot about subconscious mind reprogramming and how you should put time aside every day to do your meditations and affirmations and to teach your subconscious to bring helpful thoughts and emotions to the conscious when you're about to show up for your life. And I will keep talking about that. That is a very important component of the process. But we have to acknowledge that we do our practices for maybe 35 minutes and at most an hour if you're putting a lot of dedication to that. And there are still 15 hours left during the day during which you are showing up for your life and for your manifestation. And it's vitally important what kind of presence we maintain through all of that. Another mistake that I see people making oftentimes is beating themselves up when they quote-unquote failed to show up as they would like to for their manifestation. Again, all of it comes back to the story you tell yourselves when you quote-unquote fail. Be very careful about that, because the same process that teaches your brain that this is a painful process, we don't want to do this, you are gonna kickstart that process again, and you do not want to do that. And the way out of that is to cultivate self-compassion and self-love. Now, I know that can be very challenging because it feels corny, it feels unnatural, but if you think about it a little bit, you see how absurd it is to berate ourselves in our heads. And that is true both from a logical standpoint and also from a place of fundamental human worth. Why is it that everyone in the world deserves to be treated better by you than yourself? So be kind to yourself. Now, if you're wondering how to go about doing that, despair not. I do have some concrete ideas on that front. As usual, just recognize that authoritative, critical voice coming up and telling you how you are not good enough, you don't have what it takes, and you're just not worth it. Pay attention to that voice and just let it go. Just smile at it. And when I say smile at it, I literally mean smile at it physically. Recognize it for what it is. It is just a voice that you can let go. And as you do, if you have persistent negative thoughts like me, probably you will see another voice coming up telling you how all of this self-love kumbaya is woo and nonsense that this hippie spiritual folks do, and none of it works anyway. Pay attention to that too, and smile at those thoughts too. You will experience a sense of relaxation. You will experience a sense of detachment and dissociation from that voice. And over time, as you keep attending to these thoughts in this way, they're gonna start losing their hold on you. They're simply gonna fall off of consciousness, and you'll be back to the present moment again. But till that happens, we need to consciously keep practicing. And also pay attention to the sensation of relaxation and well-being you experience when you do decide to let that voice go. It does feel really good. And the better we feel about showing up for our lives, we are gonna show up more. As we say in hypnosis, the better you feel, the deeper you go, and the deeper you go, the better you feel. So the first step towards consistently showing up for our manifestation is awareness, and using that awareness to create a state of relaxation, to become fully present in the moment and not to let that those negative feelings and those negative thoughts to spiral. So on to the second point, and I want you to have realistic expectations about this. If you're someone who has been heavily conditioned with a voice of self-criticism, you believe that you don't have what it takes, and you're constantly finding yourself doubting and hesitating as you're about to show up for your manifestation, going from there to a place where you feel relatively relaxed and present doing the work, it's gonna take time. But we have something called awareness that we have already talked about at our disposal. So as you keep showing up for your manifestations, you will realize similar thought patterns and similar bodily sensations coming up. And in the beginning, it could be so intense that it wouldn't let you even show up for the task at hand. And for that, I suggest you have a little bit of a ritual. Maybe have a set of affirmations written that you recite. Maybe you have a breathing practice, relaxing your body, and then setting intention. I will talk into further details about this process of setting intention and getting into the right headspace to do the work more on this channel. But for now, see if you can accept this idea of having a short ritual before showing up for your manifestation. And see how your mind reacts to the thought that if you do have a ritual in place, you can actually feel a lot more relaxed and the resistance can be a lot less when you show up for your manifestation. And see if you can believe in the possibility of being in that state. We need to hype up the mind a little bit. We need to make it show that something a lot better is waiting out there for us should we choose to incorporate a new routine or a ritual to our manifestation process. To talk a little bit about the ritual, you can do something along the lines of going over your body, doing a body scan, and running a process of letting go. You can take a few minutes to pay attention to the limiting thoughts or the limiting beliefs that are coming up and just recognizing that they are unhelpful and then doing affirmations to counter them and to let them go. I have made videos in this channel going further detail into the process of letting go inspired by the teachings of Michael Singer, which is what ultimately made letting go crack for me. So I'm gonna link that video up here. There are also videos on reprogramming subconscious mind. If you do that work, that's gonna feed into this work, which is being present in the moment for your manifestation. So play with that and come up with a short ritual, maybe somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes before you do decide to show up for your manifestation. So that's everything that I had in mind for this video. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section what you have found helpful in your manifestation journey when it comes to showing up, so that all of us can learn and grow from it. If you have any thoughts, questions, and comments, make sure to leave them in the comment section. I'll try my best to respond as quickly as possible. All that said, have yourself a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.